Fate's Strange Fake thrusts you straight into the new Holy Grail War, but it does explain the fundamentals in case you haven't seen the other installments in the franchise. This one can stand alone without issue.
There are some cameos for returning viewers, but you won't be missing much if you don't recognize them.
Fate has always been high action and lots of talking with almost no in between, and that is continued here. Even while paying close attention, it can feel a little bit like a whirlwind. It's got a lot of big egos that like to monologue, but that doesn't stop each of the characters from standing out as individuals.
This series is always such a good showing of how to do multiple perspectives and lots of characters while feeling just the right amount of overwhelming. And it's always really hard to choose who you want to root for, especially as you slowly get introduced to everyone's backstories.
The characters I'm most interested to see more of are Hansa, Hippolyta, and the female assassin, so I'm glad that they're all still standing. Potentially they each drew me in because there's still something shrouded in mystery about them, unlike someone like Richard who's put all of his cards on the table. But I don't feel super emotionally attached to anyone yet.
One of my favorite fights, which is what makes this franchise so cool, was between Jack the Ripper and Alcides. The fight just felt like it kept building to see how Jack's powers worked. Jack's Master Flat may also be my favorite for this show.
I went into this thinking the movie was the prologue, but this entire season felt like one big prologue too. The depth in character development and raw emotion typical of a Fate series still hasn't fully been established here, so it feels as if there would be more than one season left. And there's more servants to set up that they didn't even touch upon, much less still having to kill off tons of people.
This reminds me more of Fate Apocrypha in that way of having more people to set up, as it also had more than the usual 7 pairs. So we spent the first half of the season taking more time to introduce everyone, so hopefully like that show, it will still get wrapped up in a second season. Although, this being mostly a free-for-all, it won't be two sides clashing like in Apocrypha.
I actually struggled with the fact that there were 13 Master-Servant pairs instead of the usual 7. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a bloated cast because everyone is still serving some sort of purpose, but I think that this scale makes it a little unbalanced. And even with so many pairs, there were still so few people taken out of the war so far. There also weren't as many shocking events on par with the bug pit or the chicken coop either, which is fine because I prefer not to take psychological damage when watching anime.
The show really was more goofy than previous Fates.
Fake also kind of made me want to rewatch Fate Zero instead, especially when they showed scenes from the 4th Holy Grail War towards the end, and they reminded me how much more moving it was than what Fake has done so far.
Yeah, it reminded me that there's a lot to watch in this franchise.
So this first season was a good 7.5 out of 10 because they spent the whole time setting up and we haven't seen any of the payoffs yet.